Let's begin the design of the rock, paper, scissors game. I'm designing it in the draw.io software. You can access it online by opening the browser and typing in draw.io. Let's bring in a rectangle first. Name it rock, paper, scissors. I have named the page basic gameplay. Expand it. Set it to the top left side and set the font size to 24 and make it bold. So in design, what we are going to do is first tell how many players are there, what the player is going to do, how the game rules are there, what the player is going to interact with, how the objects interact with each other. So first we'll have two players and rock, paper, scissors. Let's take it as three buttons, or just take it at rock, paper, scissors. Player will choose one option. Player will choose one option, and depending on the option, if it is an AI, then AI will choose another option. Let's set up the font for this to basic. Don't want it to be 24 points. Okay. Let it be 24 points. AI will choose another option. And the game rules are like this. Rock beats scissors. Scissors beat paper. And paper beats rock. If both are equal, then the game draws. Equal, then game is a draw. Okay. Equal, then game is a draw. Now what is remaining? The game menu. It will have two scenes. We don't need to show it for now. We'll do it in the next design, which is the visual scripting. We'll decide what will be included in the scenes, what scenes will be included, and then we'll do the basic scripting, which will decide what functions we'll use, how the functions will interact with each other. That's in it for the design. So these are the basic game rules. There are two players and three options: the rock, paper, and the scissors. Player can choose one option, AI will choose another random option, and depending on the option, rock beats paper, paper rock beats scissors, scissor beats paper. Why is it? Okay, let's set it to 12 points. Rock beats paper, paper beats scissor, and scissor beats rock. 18 is better. So that's the basic design of the game of rock, paper, scissors. Now let's see how we'll design it in Unity. I'll name it basic scripting. Create a new page and name it basic scripting. In basic scripting, we'll decide how the game will be seen in Unity, what things we will include. So the first thing we'll include is a main menu scene. Center and in the center. Main menu. The main menu scene consists of just two objects. The first is the start button, and the next is the quit button, which quits the game. And to do all this, we'll have an empty game object, which will name it menu manager, where we'll store all the functions. Empty. And it will contain a menu manager script. Let's do the script for now. And the script will contain two functions. The first is the start, and the second is the quit. Everything will be shown in the UI. The UI creates a canvas in which the two buttons are there. Directional connector. Let's add it here, duplicate it so you can see how it's done. That was for the main menu scene. Now let's decide how I'll create the gameplay scene, which is another scene where we'll play the game. Gameplay scene. Let's set it to the top and change its property to a container, so that whatever we'll put in it, it will contain inside. Gameplay scene, first of all, will consist a game manager where we'll pick up all the scripts, put all the scripts. Here is the game manager. Then game manager, then to play the game we need all the rock paper and scissors sprite, so we'll put it as a button. Rock, paper and scissors. The rock paper scissors will be contained in an some empty game object, and that is the player choice. We'll contain it in the player choice, and that's for the player choice. There will be one option for opponent choice also. It will also contain the rock paper scissors. Opponent choice. Now when we click any one of these buttons, rock paper and scissor, if it's AI based, then we'll only click the player buttons, and it's opponent based, we'll first click the rock button, one of the rock from the player and one from the opponent. So it, depending on it, some options will be created, choices, and we'll rename it choices, and every one of them will connect the choice select script. I've done it before, so I am renaming it to choice select, but you can do the basic scripting when you are creating the game, so it does not conflict with it. You just need to know what basics things you are gonna create. Just 10 to 20 objects or 5 to 10 objects, then you can expand on it. Now, when the choice is selected, we'll need a winning text. Will show us who is going to win. And there's a background always. Now we'll add the settings. All the buttons and UI will. The first is the menu button, which takes us back to the menu. The second one is the restart button, which restarts the game. And the third one is the settings button. In the settings, we'll have some options. The first one is switch to AI, which will be, we'll see how we'll use it. Then another one, I have the option to set the player name. And next one, the option will set to have the opponent name. Everything, this UI and menu, all will be contained in the canvas, and we'll create different containers for it. Like for rock, paper, and scissors, we created player choice. For winning text background, for settings, we'll create another container which takes all the settings. Menu, restart, and the settings button, they are on the UI, so we won't need to create anything for it. Now that's the basic scripting. Now start the visual scripting. In visual scripting, we'll just imagine how we are going to script in the Unity editor. The basic scripting just contains of all the objects we are going to use. So first, let's start with the easiest, main menu scene. So we'll imagine we are creating it in Unity. We created the main menu scene. Now, the main menu scene will contain a game menu manager object. Empty game object. We have already seen it in basic scripting that we'll need a menu manager script. So we'll first create menu manager script. And in menu manager script, we'll have two functions, the start and the quit. We'll need it to be public so we can use it on the buttons. So let's just assume we have the public void start, and which will contain some text. The start will just load the scene and we'll rename it at Unity scene manager dot. The command is the scene manager dot load scene, and the scene is the one which is the start. Index starts from 0. 0th is the main menu scene. We'll create the scene later, and then we have the public void quit, which quits the button, quits the game. Sorry, public void quit. Let's public void quit, and quit, it's nothing, just application dot quit. The command for it is application dot quit. I'm doing it at the start, but you can do it while creating the game. This is just the basic framework of how the scripts and objects will interact with each other. That's the menu manager. Then we'll have the canvas. Any UI is first created under canvas. Without the canvas, you cannot have the UI. And the canvas has a couple of options. First, we'll set the render mode. You can set it to screen space overlay or screen space camera. I am setting it to camera. Then select the camera to main camera, render camera, UI scale mode with screen size, and the last resolution option we are creating in the portrait mode, so it will be 1080 by 1920 instead of 1920 by 1080. And that's the canvas. Everything UI you construct will be constructed in the canvas. It will be the canvas will be the main parent of it. So in canvas we'll have a background. That's just a plain image. We'll set it to some light color or whatever color you like depending on the color scheme. Then that's the image. And remember, we want to create two buttons. First is the start button and the second is the quit button. Start button, style it accordingly, and the second one is the quit button. Both buttons, well, both buttons will have a on-click listener, and that's the functions we created when we did the menu manager script. They are the start and the quit. So in the start button, on click, game object will be menu manager. Will set menu manager dot start. And similarly for the quit button, we'll have on click event, and this will be menu manager dot quit. So that's it for the main menu scene. It contains the two objects, the main menu manager and the canvas. Canvas contains three objects, start button, quit button, and the background. We'll set the background. That was for the main menu scene. Now let's go the gameplay scene. Gameplay scene, it's a little more complicated because there are so many objects. I suggest you create some of the objects at first and then start creating another one, and then try to do the visual scripting and do the scripts in the editor whatever you are using. Gameplay scene, every gameplay scene will contain a canvas. Settings, you can do it yourself. The canvas will have a background image, and the three rock paper scissors object or button. But those rock paper scissors we have created on a empty game object which was named player choice, and that player choice we had the three objects which are the rock, paper, and scissors button. On player choice we'll have some components. First is the animator. We'll set up the animations for it, and the second will add a canvas group, so we can change the properties of the player choice empty game object. It will contain an alpha component, so we'll make it transparent. And the animations, let's name it idle and move for now. We'll specifically name it when we'll do and we'll do it in the game. And all the three buttons will contain a choice select script. How we'll script it, again, we'll see it when creating the game. So that was for the player choice. The opponent choice is the same. And let's rename it to opponent choice. Now we have set up the choices. We had a winning text. There is nothing more in the winning text. And we have the player selected image. Will show up it will show up when the player selects the image. Because we have three images, we can't show all three images at once. We need to show a different image when the player selects it. It will contain an animator component, and there is no need for canvas group because we can directly set it as it is an image. That was an empty game object, so we cannot set the properties of anything, but it has an image, so we can set the properties. That was for the player select. Then we'll have one for the opponent selected. Now, what's remaining? Aha, all the UI buttons. The first one is the restart button. The second one, settings button. And the last one, what was it? Menu button, which will take us back to the menu. We'll just add it as it is and change the settings thereafter. And menu, and we'll have one more component, which is the settings BG. Background will set it as an image. We won't show it for the start, but whenever the settings is pressed, we can show it on the screen. And whenever the setting is or we go back to the menu, we'll hide it. The settings, we have a simple return button which takes us back to the main, not the main menu, but the settings menu. And the return, then we have the player name text. The player name text just shows us what we have to do. And below the player name text, we'll add a player name input field. Player name data, because it contains the data of the player name and it's of the type input field. Similarly, we'll have one for the opponent name. Text, and the opponent name data input. And last, we'll have a toggle which will tell us when to switch to AI or when to play a two-player game. And it's a toggle. And all of this will contain a reference to the game manager script, which in the player data or the settings or whenever we want to go to a different object. Everything is contained in the game manager script. Let's make it a container. Don't return. Don't resize children. Clean it up. So that was the canvas, the only game object. Next we'll have the main camera, which we don't need to show it. The settings are all similar. And because we added a canvas, it will have an event system. And let's add the game manager. It is an empty game object. The game manager will contain just one game manager script. So how we'll create the game manager script? Or in the game manager script, first we'll have the select, which depending on the choice and is player changes the data which will store in the game manager, such that who wins, who loses, the player's choice, the opponent's choice, and if the game is completed, then we'll determine the winner. We'll create it in a different function, and the when the winner is determined, what we'll do is change the text. Set the images of the player choice selected, so we'll know what choice you have selected, and when the images are selected, we'll play the animations. That are all the functions when the choice is selected, and all the buttons will have a choice select script. Choice select script just contains one component, one function, and that is the select. Depending on the choice and its player, will set as public properties in choice select script, and all the UI functions will change the which will change the data. All the UI functions, just like player name data input field will set the player name, opponent name data will set the opponent name, winning text no needed. The restart button which will restart the game, the settings will show the settings VG image, and the menu button which will return to the menu. And these are all done in the game manager script. So that was the basic design of the rock paper scissors game. Now let's start creating the game.